Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities and Miniatures. I'm High Lord Tamberlane. Here's the Scales of Justice, the Judge, and Lady Justice, and they're all joining me today because their newest incarnation is now in front of me. The Lady Justice core box, and their keyword is Marshal. They don't have any kind of fancy punny title for their group. That's a shame. They also seem to have female death marshals, which is interesting, and our judge has undergone gender and ethnicity changes because, well, he's dead. So, see you later, buddy. Alright, let's see. What do we have in store for us in this box? So we have 3 new death marshals. I kind of like these sculpts a lot better than the originals, which were a pain in the butt. We had the giant version, we had the one that was flying around in the air, and there's a third one I can't remember. Scales of Justice, are you going to be as big of a pain in the butt as this dude with your teeny tiny pieces that somehow has managed to stay in one piece after all these years? We'll see. The Judge, oh, how many times have I had to rebase you, Judge? Lady Justice, well, I just rebased you again before this video, which was a pretty good run, but I've heard people complain about the static poses outside of the Judge and I guess Lady Justice compared to her old... Where'd she go? Justice has escaped. Where she's like barely, 2 little contact points and I don't know. I had been long hoping Wyrd would go back and redo some of the classic masters, but not in this way. I don't know. Maybe it'll grow on me. So, if you haven't seen what's inside the box yet, because I certainly haven't, let us all take a look and gaze upon the included goodies. So, how many bases? Are there enough bases? There's 5 bases, so that's a good start. We've got the big new fancy cards with all the stuff that we need to know on them. Okay. Who is this little sprue that's going to... Dude. There we go. It's like going to break one of the Death Marshal's guns. Oh, it's the Scales. The Scales of Justice. And you still have teeny tiny parts, but it doesn't look as bad as the last time we put you together. Because those little flaming ends of the scales were really, really obnoxious. This doesn't look as bad, but we'll see if I haven't spoken too soon. Alright. Lots of death marshals here. So here is Lady Justice herself. Looks like she's about 8 parts. Not too bad. Doesn't look too complex. You can see she's got the 2 legs. Her head, her ponytail, I'm guessing, or a scarf? I'm not even sure. Sword. Her sword's so boring now. Who's this? A death marshal. Okay. Here's the new judge model. A teeny tiny face. And I guess that's her hair right here. My ring finger is poking at. So if this is one death marshal, oh my goodness, that means this is 2 models right here. Okay. Oh my goodness, and look at all these little tiny flames that we're going to have to figure out where they all go. Can you guys take a guess which is the last model in the box that it's going to be built? Yes, it's this one. This guy doesn't look as bad. With these flames everywhere, it's just like, I don't know. But, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get started, not on the Judge, but on Lady Justice. So, give me a sec, we'll get her all popped out, and we'll take a look at her. Here's Lady Justice's parts all laid out. So we have the main body with the scabbard of her sword, her lower torso, the legs that go attached there, one of the hands, and the sword that it's holding. The other hand, her head and neck, which slots right into the overcoat she's wearing, and then this is the loose ends of the bandana or blindfold or whatever it is she's wearing. So I got a little bit of cleanup here, but it does not look like a very complex model, especially compared to those crazy death marshals, which I'm already very apprehensive about building, but this looks like a piece of cake. We'll get her all put together here. So here is Lady Justice all put together. Again, I don't know. This pose makes me just think she looks a bit unhinged and she doesn't know what she's doing and she's just waving her sword blindly around. So I'm not 100% sure I actually have these bandana ends blindfold ends in the correct spot, but that's where it's going. I'm having a hard time also seeing where the bandana or blindfold on her face actually is, and her shirt details leave a lot to be desired. It's kind of a shame. You can kind of see it there, but that's because I turned the lights up, so... Well, at least she can stand up on her own. Which is more than I can say for the original model for the most part. So I am kind of happy, but also a little bit dismayed that she just looks like she's kind of swinging her sword every which way, whereas the original one, at least the original plastic one, I should say, she looks way more calm and poised and a bit more ninja-like, I guess. But anyway, let's move on and we'll take a look at the judge next. So here's everything we need to make the judge. Her arm with the sword, her other arm, her teeny tiny head, I'm guessing her hair, legs obviously, and then the rest of the body with the coat attached. Very similar looking to Lady Justice this time around, which is a bit surprising, but you know, it is what it is. I really don't know what this is. It has to be hair. It just has to. I'm thinking that maybe the teeny tiny head here attaches somehow. I don't know. The head really is small. Detail's not too bad. Okay, let me figure this out. We'll at least get the body put together and we'll go from there. And I should have something to show you soon. So I'm still hesitating to put together the death marshals, but I thought, you know what, probably should do the scales of justice. I haven't bothered to cut it out yet. It's kind of redundant because he's got all his parts here, so we're just going to take a look. We've got the main body, we've got the scales balance itself, the two scales right there, his hands that are connected, and then his random feet, as well as part of his cloak there. Where is his head? Does he have a head? I'm not seeing a head. That's interesting. Maybe he's got some other parts somewhere laying around. Oh, no, it's right there. There we go. He's just twisted and contorted there. So I'm curious to see, really, honestly, how he stacks up, because I thought that the original was a big pain in the butt trying to put together, and surprisingly, he has lasted, knock on wood, despite some heavy gameplay, he has not broken in any way, shape, or form yet, and that's saying something for some very early, flimsy, very skinny pieced Malifaux parts. So hopefully his modern interpretation is just as nice. I'm going to get those clippers and glue and we're going to put them together. And the scales of justice are all finished, and I got to say it wasn't as bad as I had feared. He actually went together pretty well. He's got little slots for the scales to actually insert into. Hands go on top of that. And then there's a lodge for, what's it called, the actual literally scale balance thing he's got there. So not too much of a challenge, especially compared to the original. I had a pain of a time with the original. But he's kind of in this, like, obviously the scales of justice are not very balanced yet. And neither is this crew. So we are going to have to do the inevitable. We are going to have to build the death marshals now. So let's take a look at the models I've been dreading the most. Here is the first death marshal that we're going to build because she is the easiest. So it's interesting to see that all of the death marshals this time are female, and they all seem to be pretty much in the same scale with each other, unlike the originals where you have the giant crazy dude and then the two more realistically proportioned ones. So far we have, what, 2 hands, we have the back of her coat, the hat, the coffin, and the model itself. So we're not even going to bother with the human faces. They're going full-on flaming skull this time. It was a nice option to have both for the originals, but I naturally went with the flaming skulls myself. So we're going to continue that trend as well with these. So it looks like this is going to... I'm not sure how that's all going to go together. Let's get the pieces cut out and we'll find out. So upon further reflection, I think I've got at least our first death marshal all figured out. What we're going to do is we're going to actually glue the back of her duster, jacket, whatever you want to call it, to the body. And then you can see there's this nice big plug that I'm going to have to clean up. And then that's going to actually glue in to the coffin, which is all then going to be supported by the base. And then finally, you're going to have the hand with the chain that you had to be ever so careful to not snap off. And obviously I'm going to clean this up still. That's going to end up attaching to the coffin as well. So it's all a nice big supportive combination to get the whole thing attached and to be a super pain in the butt if you're going to paint everything up in bits, in pieces. And then finally we have, what are the guns called? The executioners. She's firing it forward. Got to clean that, and then we'll put the hat on as well. Okay, one death marshal figured out. Then we'll do the next one. And believe it or not, our first death marshal is done. And I'm having to hold on to her because she is very lopsided with the way this base is set up. Well, not her base, but the coffin that she's carrying. That is a hideous mold line going right down the front of her there and the inside of her thigh that I did not bother cleaning, so deal with that. It's kind of cool actually how the thing went together with the way the coffin and the jacket and the chain and the leg all kind of support everything. It gives the illusion that she's really holding it, but I mean, when all's said and done and it's glued on the base here, you're not going to really know any different. So I kind of like that, like the pose. It was something different we haven't really seen. And I mean, obviously, a model of this size is not going to be able to hold that coffin, considering it's actually a solid piece too. So that was kind of cool. Kudos to Wyrd for this sculpt for sure. So let's move on to the next one. This, I would say, we're going in order of difficulty. So the next one is, I believe, carrying the coffin on her back. So it's a two-part piece. We've got some flames that I believe are supposed to be coming out of the opening of the lid. And it doesn't look too bad except for these weird square pieces, planks of some sort. I'm guessing those are going to go somewhere on the coffin itself. Maybe on the front and the back. That's my guess. Doesn't look too ridiculous. Fingers crossed. Knock on wood. Knock on our coffin, I guess. So let's get to building and we'll figure out where everything goes here. And the second death marshal is down. So you'll notice that I didn't actually finish building her, and that's because even though she's all shiny and wet still, there's a nice little contact point where her coffin is going to just slot in, and I left it off because why make painting even harder for myself, right? So she'll look something like that. At least a semi-sturdy pose there. Both feet on the ground, thankfully. This is a little heavy, but, you know, we'll make do with it. Overall, actually, I think she was a little bit easier to build than the previous one. But then that leads us to the last one, who is probably going to win the most Malifaux model for 3rd edition so far. This is just ridiculous, the amount of parts. I snapped it off of the rest of the sprue here. So funny enough, just like the first one we built, the bulk of the coffin is one piece, and then we have the flames and the actual death marshal standing on top of it. The flames look like they're going to be a royal pain in the butt. Yeah. So, oh well, you know what, we're at this point. Let's give it a shot. Let's get it built. And if I need to, I guess I can always go look online to see how it's supposed to go together. Surprisingly, I have finished the last of the death marshals. And I did it all without bothering to look online, surprisingly. So this one was kind of a challenge to get together. She really didn't want to cooperate in terms of having her legs and torso all fit nice and neat. Maybe I didn't do the best job of cleaning up the leftover, sprue scars there. That's quite possible. But the base, for as much of a gluey mess as it looks right now, actually was pretty simple, just going piece by piece. And that was really where the bulk of all those parts ended up. And having built it now, I can't help but wonder, did it really require all those tiny little flames? Some of these flames, especially on the top, are at least 3 or 4 pieces, and it seems like there's one extra spot that doesn't have a piece, and I swear to God, I cut everything out, and I didn't find anything laying around anywhere at all, so I don't know what that's all about. So basically, this death marshal is going to be posed like so. I wonder if she'll do it on her own. Maybe not. But anyway, they're a lot more stable and sturdy poses than the original plastic ones, so I'm happy about that. We'll set her to the side. We saw all of the others, and I thought it'd be kind of nice to take a look at some of the changes in other members of the posse. So here we have like the original, or no, not the original, the updated Lady Justice, the updated Judge, and the new Scales of Justice. So we can compare that one to the old one. She looks a lot more like a ninja or something in this older version. I don't know, I never got that vibe with her. Judge, well, I don't know, I kind of like both. I'm happy to have both. Not that I can run both, but, you know. On the scales, I kind of prefer still the older one. I don't know. Something about having survived it and actually got it together correctly without having to worry about it too much. It just looks more interesting. Maybe it's just the pose. I do like the new Lady J pose, though. Her blindfold on and everything still. To me, it's just... And the attire that she's wearing matches up with the Judge, which is just a nice touch. Maybe it did originally here, and maybe that's just my poor paint job. I painted these years ago. So I'd like to think that my skills have somewhat improved since then. And despite the craziness and reluctance I had to build all of the Death Marshals, in the end, I gotta say, they weren't that bad. Would I recommend this set to a brand new novice in the ways of building Malifaux models? Probably not, actually. I don't think this would be the best choice, just because of so many little parts, unless they're cool with that. I mean, if they've had experience building teeny tiny intricate plastic models, I think they'll be okay. Otherwise, I would probably recommend somebody else, unless they're just absolutely dead set on playing Lady Justice here. I mean, who am I to stop them, right? So, quite complex, but not super difficult to build would be my final walk away with this. A little bit static poses for our main core trio. I'm not as big a fan of our new scales compared to the original. The Judge in her at ease pose is so. I do like Lady J's pose this time around, if only because this is such a weird low pose, and it was a pain in the butt to actually get it all together. I definitely like the new Death Marshals. I think they're a lot more cooler and evocative of, I don't know, that Western justice or something. I don't know. I like them more. And I don't have to worry about snapping off the one. There was the one that used to be kind of leaping off the coffin that was posted on the base, and it just always seemed to snap off no matter what I did. I don't know how many of their guns I broke as well. So hopefully these will last a little longer. With that said, this is High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, and just saying thanks for watching, and hey, we'll be back with more. Check us out. We'll be here. Bye-bye.